Close your eyes now, my sweet listener. Let your head sink a little deeper into the pillow. Feel the weight of the day slowly melting away as my voice wraps around you like the way warm candlelight wraps around an old library. Outside your window, soft rain has begun to fall, a gentle patter on the glass, steady and patient, like someone turning the pages of a very thick book far away. Each drop is saying shh, 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 telling the world to quiet down so we can begin. Breathe in slowly with me, and breathe out good again. Let everything soften. Tonight, I am going to whisper the entire story of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone to you, the 2001 film directed by Chris Columbus. Every tiny detail, every flicker of light, every heartbeat, every secret, until you drift so deeply that even the rain feels like it's falling inside a dream. You already know how it ends, but that is exactly why it feels safe, like returning to a childhood bedroom you thought you had outgrown. Nothing here will startle you, only hold you. Imagine we are sitting together in a small tower room high up in Hogwarts on a stormy November night long after curfew. A fire crackles low in the grate, throwing golden shadows across stone walls lined with dusty books. I have an enormous leather-bound copy of the tale open on my lap, the pages thick and slightly yellowed, smelling of vanilla and cedar, and something faintly like chocolate frogs. Every time I turn a page, you will hear the softest crinkle, like autumn leaves underfoot. Sometimes I will pause to trace a line with my fingertip, sometimes I will tap the page twice, very lightly, the way rain taps on a greenhouse roof. And all the while the castle breathes around us, distant thunder, wind curling around the turrets, owls hooting far away, everything inviting you to let go. You have probably wondered why this story, of all stories, still feels like a blanket when you are grown. Perhaps because it begins with a baby left on a doorstep in the ordinary world, wrapped in love he cannot yet understand, and maybe you too have felt left on some doorstep of your own life at times. Have you ever waited for a letter that never seemed to come, something that would tell you who you really are? Tonight, that letter is here, in my voice, addressed only to you. J.K. Rowling wrote the very first lines of Harry Potter on scraps of napkin in an Edinburgh cafe, while her own baby slept beside her. She had no idea the words would one day tuck millions of us into sleep. And did you know that when Warner Brothers bought the film rights, she insisted on one thing above all, that the movie feel like the warmest bedtime story ever told to a child who is afraid of the dark? Chris Columbus took that promise and wrapped it in candlelight and snow and steam from the Hogwarts Express. Stephen King once said this first film is the rare adaptation that improves on the book by making it feel even more like something your mother would read to you when you were sick in bed. Tonight I am borrowing that mother energy, soft, slow, endless, until your thoughts stop racing and only the story remains. Feel your shoulders drop a little more with every breath. Let the rain outside grow heavier for a moment, then lighter, like waves rocking a boat. We are going to walk through every corridor of this film together, noticing the way the camera lingers on Harry's two large hand-me-down clothes, the way candle flames tremble when Hagrid first knocks down the door on that stormy island hut, the way Hedwig's feathers glisten with raindrops. I will describe the exact shade of green the killing curse was, the smell of treacle tart in the great hall, the hush that falls when Dumbledore's name is spoken. And whenever something important happens, I will pause, let the silence settle like fresh snow, and ask you something gentle. When was the last time you felt truly seen for the very first time? Who in your life has ever burst through your door the way Hagrid burst through Harry's? Have you ever looked into a mirror and seen not your face, but your deepest wish? These questions are not here to wake you. They are here to let the story touch the soft places inside you that rarely get spoken to. The fire pops quietly. I turn the first heavy page. The paper sighs. Rain keeps its patient rhythm. You are completely safe. Nothing is required of you except to listen and to breathe. If you fall asleep before we reach the end, that is perfect. The story will simply continue inside your dreams and finish itself there. If you stay with me the whole way, you will wake tomorrow feeling as though you spent the night flying over the Black Lake on a broomstick made of starlight. Either way, you win. Let your toes relax, then your ankles, then the long muscles of your legs. Feel the mattress holding you exactly the way the Hogwarts boats held the first years. Steady and ancient and kind. The room smells faintly of cinnamon and old parchment now. I lean a little closer, my voice dropping to the softest whisper, almost brushing your ear, and I begin. The film opens in the deepest velvet of night, overcast night on Privet Drive, where every house looks exactly like the last, every lawn clipped to the same nervous perfection. Street lamps cast small pools of orange light that tremble whenever the wind moves through the perfectly ordinary leaves. The camera glides slowly, almost apologetically, over identical rooftops, until it settles on number 4, where the Dursleys live in proud, terrified normality. You can almost smell the boiled cabbage and disapproval drifting out of the letterbox. Inside, Vernon Dursley is polishing his mustache with the kind of satisfaction only a man who fears magic can feel, while Petunia's lips are so thin they seem to have been ironed. And under the stairs, in a cupboard that smells of dust and old shoes and the faint metallic tang of loneliness, sleeps an 11-year-old boy whose forehead bears a lightning-shaped scar that sometimes aches when thunder rolls. The titles appear in that gentle golden font, soft as candle wax, and John Williams' Celesta begins to play, those tiny silver bells that feel like someone sprinkling starlight directly onto your closed eyelids. Hedwig's theme rises, first as a lullaby, then as a promise. You already feel it in your chest. Something enormous is coming, but it is coming gently. Then the screen brightens to a cold November dawn. Albus Dumbledore walks down the middle of Privet Drive wrapped in a long purple cloak that brushes the pavement like midnight itself. His half-moon spectacles glint as he raises the put-outer, and one by one the street lamps surrender their light into the little glowing orbs that float obediently into the device. Click, 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 each sound soft as a heartbeat slowing down. Have you ever wished someone would come and turn off all the harsh lights of your day exactly like that? Just let the darkness be gentle instead of frightening. Minerva McGonagall steps out of the shadows in her tartan dressing gown, eyes sharp with worry and wonder. Her voice is low, almost trembling. Albus, do you really think it's safe leaving him with these people? Dumbledore's answer is quiet, warm, ancient. He will be protected by something they can never understand, even less than magic love. The word love lingers in the air like incense. A huge motorbike descends from the sky, rumbling like distant thunder, and Hagrid lands with tears freezing on his cheeks. In his enormous arms is a bundle of blankets. When he unwraps them just enough for us to see the baby's sleeping face and that tender scar, the camera holds so long you can almost feel the softness of the blanket yourself. Dumbledore places Harry on the doorstep with a letter tucked inside the blanket. A letter that smells faintly of parchment and candle smoke and something like hope. Hagrid sobs. McGonagall's eyes glisten. The three of them stand there for a long moment while the sky slowly turns the color of lilac. Then they are gone, and the ordinary world swallows the magic again. For 10 long years. We jump forward. Harry is 11 now, thin and quiet, with round glasses mended with sellotape and clothes that hang off him like sadness. The Dursleys celebrate Dudley's birthday with 37 presents. Harry gets a coat hanger and a pair of Vernon's old socks. You can feel the cupboard door closing behind him every night, the way the darkness presses against his cheek. Do you remember a time when you too felt small in a space that was never meant to hold your dreams? On a miserable Sunday outing to the zoo, rain taps on the car roof exactly like the rain outside your window tonight. Dudley and his friend shove Harry aside at the reptile house. Harry stands alone in front of the boa constrictor's tank, whispering to the snake the way lonely children whisper to anything that will listen. The glass vanishes with a soft pop. Dudley falls backwards into the water with a splash that somehow sounds like laughter. Vernon's face turns purple. That night Harry is locked back in the cupboard, but something inside him has already begun to hum. Then the letters start arriving. First one, sliding under the door with a soft, papery sigh. Then dozens, shooting out of the fireplace like white doves. Then hundreds, bursting from every crack, fluttering around the house like snowflakes made of secrets. Vernon nails up the letterbox. The eggs that Petunia cracks for breakfast have tiny envelopes inside them instead of yolks. Finally, on Harry's birthday, Vernon drags them all to a shack on a rock in the middle of a storm-tossed sea. Waves crash against the walls. Wind howls. The tiny hut smells of salt and damp and fear. Dudley whimpers in his sleep. Midnight approaches. The door explodes inward with a boom that feels like the world splitting open to let the magic in. Hagrid stands there, rain dripping from his beetle's black eyes, holding a slightly squashed pink umbrella. "Sorry, Abu, that—" he rumbles, and his voice is so huge and warm it fills every corner of the tiny room. He hands Harry a slightly squashed birthday cake that smells of sugar and home. Harry's fingers tremble as he reads the inscription in green icing, "Happy Birthday, Harry." When Hagrid tells him, "Harry, you're a wizard," the words spoken so gently you feel them settle on your own skin like warm breath, Harry's whole face changes. The scar stops hurting for the first time in his life. Vernon tries to bluster, but Hagrid simply gives him a tail, a curly pig's tail that makes Dudley squeal and run. Outside, the storm softens to a lullaby as Hagrid and Harry climb into the little boat and row toward the horizon. The sea rocks them the way I hope this story is rocking you now. Have you ever had someone burst through your door, literally or not, and tell you the truth you were always afraid to believe about yourself? The next morning they reach London. Diagon Alley unfolds like a secret kept inside an ordinary brick wall. Tap, tap, tap on the bricks, and the archway opens with a sigh of warm air that smells of cauldrons and parchment and freshly baked pasties. Harry's eyes are so wide, so bright. Gringotts is cold and echoing. Goblin fingers clicking on scales, coins clinking like tiny bells. The car ride down to Vault 713 is a breathless plunge that makes your stomach float. Mountains of gold spill out, galleons glinting like captured sunlight. Hagrid's face goes green as he retrieves the grubby little package from the stone's vault. Harry buys his wand at Ollivander's. 11 inches, holly and phoenix feather, nice and supple. The moment it chooses him, golden sparks shower around them like warm snow. Ollivander whispers, "Curious, very curious," and you can feel destiny brushing the back of your neck. They buy robes that smell of cedar, books whose leather covers are soft as butter, a cauldron that clinks gently when it moves, and Hedwig, the snowy owl, blinks at Harry with eyes that say, "I have been waiting for you." When Harry asks Hagrid about his parents, Hagrid's voice cracks like old wood. Best people in the world, and Voldemort killed them. The name is spoken so quietly it feels dangerous even here in this safe tower room tonight. But Hagrid gives Harry the photograph album later, on the train, and every smiling face waves at him as though they never left. The last thing before Hogwarts Hagrid disappears into the crowd with a gentle pat on Harry's shoulder that feels like the safest thing in the world. Harry stands alone among the bustle of King's Cross, ticket in hand, wondering how on earth he will find platform 9 3/4. A kind family with flaming red hair appears. Mrs. Weasley's voice, warm and brisk. All you have to do is walk straight at the barrier between platforms 9 and 10. Don't stop and don't be scared you'll crash. That's very important. Harry closes his eyes, runs, and the world tilts, and suddenly there is scarlet steam and sunlight, and the Hogwarts Express waiting like a promise kept. He steps aboard. The corridor smells of chocolate and clean cotton. A round-faced boy named Neville is looking for his toad. A girl with bushy brown hair and rather large front teeth is already organizing everyone. And then Ron Weasley, freckles and hand-me-down robes and a smudge of dirt on his nose, offers Harry a seat. The trolley witch rolls by with pumpkin pasties and chocolate frogs, and Bertie bots every flavor beans. Harry buys the lot, the coins warm from his pocket. Ron's rat Scabbers sleeps in his lap. The chocolate frog card shows Dumbledore smiling kindly. Outside the window, green hills roll by like slow waves. When the train finally steams into Hogsmeade Station at twilight, the sky is the color of spilled ink with one bright star. Hagrid's lantern bobbing ahead. Furs years over here. The boats glide across the black lake without a sound, the water so still it mirrors the castle perfectly. Hogwarts rises above them, turrets and towers glowing gold against the night, windows twinkling like hundreds of friendly eyes. Harry's breath catches. Ron whispers, "Wicked." And you, listening now, feel the exact same wonder settle over you like the softest blanket. They climb the stone steps. McGonagall waits in her emerald robes, voice crisp but not unkind. The great hall doors swing open, and 1,000 candles float in mid-air above 4 long tables. The ceiling is the night sky itself, swirling gently with stars. Dumbledore rises, beard shimmering silver, eyes twinkling behind half-moon spectacles. The Sorting Hat sings its yearly song, voice cracked and wise. One by one the first year step forward. Hermione's knees knock. Ron goes pale. Harry's heart thuds so loudly he is sure everyone can hear it. When the hat shouts, "Gryffindor!" For him, The table on the far left explodes in cheers. He walks toward them on legs that feel made of air, and Percy Weasley shakes his hand. The twins shout, "We got Potter!" And suddenly Harry is surrounded by warmth and noise and belonging. The feast appears with a wave of Dumbledore's hand, roast beef and Yorkshire puddings and treacle tart that smells like childhood itself. Nearly headless Nick bows politely, his head wobbling. Harry eats until his stomach aches with happiness. When Dumbledore sends them to bed, the staircases shift gently under their feet like breathing creatures. The fat lady swings open at the password Caput Draconis, and the Gryffindor common room welcomes them with squashy armchairs and a fire that crackles like laughter. Harry climbs the spiral stairs to the dormitory, pulls the four-poster curtains closed, and for the first time in his life falls asleep feeling exactly where he is supposed to be. The first weeks at Hogwarts pass like golden dust motes drifting through sunbeams. Harry wakes every morning to the soft rustle of Hedwig's feathers and the distant echo of bells across the lake. The castle smells of toast and parchment and polished oak, and something indefinably ancient that makes every corridor feel like the inside of a hug. In the great hall, the enchanted ceiling shows pale autumn skies, and owls swoop between the tables dropping letters and packages that land with gentle thuds. Harry's scar has stopped hurting completely, and he sometimes catches himself smiling for no reason at all. Their very first morning, the post arrives in a flurry of wings. Neville receives a remembrall from his grandmother, a glass ball that glows smoky red when you've forgotten something. Dean Thomas gets a parcel of homemade biscuits that smell of cinnamon and love. For Harry, there is only one letter, in emerald green ink. His first ever detention notice from Professor McGonagall, because he and Ron were late to Transfiguration after getting lost behind a trick staircase. Ron shrugs, "Welcome to Hogwarts," and Harry laughs, an actual laugh that bubbles up from somewhere brand new. In Charms, tiny Professor Flitwick squeaks with excitement when Hermione levitates her feather after feather, while everyone else's lie stubbornly on the desk. Wingardium Leviosa she pronounces with perfect swish and flick, and the feather rises like a sleepy bird. Harry manages it on his third try, and feels the same golden warmth he felt when his wand first chose him. In herbology, Professor Sprout's cheeks are pink from greenhouse steam as she shows them how to repot mandrakes, their cries muffled by earmuffs that make everyone look adorably ridiculous. The soil is rich and damp and smells like rain on turned earth. Have you ever touched something so alive it felt like it was touching you back? Potions with Snape is another story entirely. The dungeons are cold enough that you can see your breath. Torches flicker green along the walls, and jars of pickled things glug softly on the shelves. Snape sweeps in, black robes billowing like angry wings, and the temperature seems to drop another 10 degrees. His voice is a low, dangerous silk. Potter, our new celebrity. The first lesson he asks Harry impossible questions, eyes glittering like obsidian. When Harry cannot answer what Monkshood and Wolfsbane have in common, Snape takes points from Gryffindor with a satisfaction that feels personal. Hermione's hand shoots up so fast it nearly leaves her shoulder, but Snape ignores her completely. Harry feels heat rise in his cheeks, half anger, half shame. Ron mutters later, "There's no need to look so pleased with himself," and Harry nods, but inside something small and cold has begun to wonder if Snape truly hates him. Halloween arrives with the smell of baking pumpkin drifting through every corridor. Jacko, lanterns grin from alcoves, their candlelight warm and orange. In Charms, they practice levitating pumpkins. Seamus Finnegan's explodes in a shower of sticky seeds that smell like toasted marshmallows. Everyone laughs until Professor Quirrell bursts in, stammering that there is a troll in the dungeons. Panic ripples outward like dropped pebbles in the lake. Dumbledore's voice is calm thunder, telling everyone to return to their common rooms. Harry suddenly remembers. Hermione doesn't know about the troll. She's crying in the girls' bathroom because Ron said nobody likes a know-it-all. He and Ron run. The corridors are empty except for the echo of their trainers and the distant thud of something enormous. They find Hermione just as the troll lumbers in, 12 feet tall, skin like gray rock, carrying a club the size of a tree trunk. The bathroom smells of damp stone and fear. Hermione shrinks against the wall. Harry does the first thing that comes into his head. He jumps onto the troll's back. Ron raises his wand with shaking hands and shouts, "Wingardium Leviosa!" The club floats out of the troll's grasp and hovers, then drops with a sickening crunch onto the troll's head. It sways, eyes crossing comically, and collapses like a demolished building. Dust drifts down like soft gray snow. Professors burst in moments later. McGonagall looks as though she might faint. Snape's lip curls, but his eyes flicking to a cut on his own leg. Flitwick squeaks. Quirrell clutches his turban. Dumbledore simply twinkles. 5 points each for sheer dumb luck, McGonagall says sternly, but her eyes are suspiciously bright. From that night on, Hermione Granger is their friend. There is nothing more binding than surviving a 12-foot mountain troll together. Have you ever discovered that the people who will stand beside you in the scariest moments are sometimes the ones you least expect? The friendship settles into something soft and everyday. They sit together in the library whispering over homework while rain taps the tall windows. Hermione's quills scratch. Pages rustle. Madame Pince glides past like a silent ghost. Hermione teaches them how to pronounce Levicorpus correctly, even though it's sixth-year stuff. Ron teaches Harry wizard chess. The pieces shout advice and insult each other in tiny, gravelly voices. Harry teaches them exploding snap. The cards crackle and pop like friendly fireworks. In the common room at night, the fire paints their faces gold and scarlet. Ron's rat Scabbers snores in his pocket. Crookshanks hasn't arrived yet, but the future is already curled up somewhere waiting. One frosty morning, the grounds are blanketed in snow. The lake has frozen into a sheet of pale blue glass. A notice goes up in the common room. Quidditch trials for first years are allowed this year because of, quote, special circumstances. Harry's stomach flips. He has never even sat on a broom. Wood drags him out at dawn for practice. The air is so cold it hurts to breathe. But the moment Harry kicks off the ground, everything changes. The wind sings in his ears, the castle shrinks below him, and for the first time he understands what it feels like to be completely, perfectly free. Wood's mouth actually falls open. "You're a natural seeker," he whispers, awestruck. The first match is Gryffindor versus Slytherin. The stands are a riot of scarlet and green. Harry's firebolt hasn't arrived yet. He rides a school clean sweep that feels clumsy after his private practices. Lee Jordan commentates with shameless bias. The quaffle is released. Chasers streak past like comets. Then Snape referees, black robes flapping like a crow. Harry's broom jerks violently in midair. It bucks and twists, as though trying to throw him to his death. In the stands, Hermione sees Snape muttering with his eyes fixed on Harry. She sets his robes on fire with a quick, Lacarnum inflammare. The spell breaks. Harry regains control, dives faster than thought, and catches the snitch in his mouth after a 50-foot plummet. Gryffindor wins 170-60. The common room celebration lasts until dawn. Someone charms the ceiling to snow tiny golden stars that melt before they touch you. Christmas comes gently. The Great Hall has 12 enormous trees, glittering with real fairies and icicles that never drip. Only a handful of students stay behind. Harry wakes to a small pile of presents at the foot of his bed. A hand-knitted emerald sweater from Mrs. Weasley that smells of cinnamon and home, a 50-pence piece from the Dursleys, and something long and wrapped in brown paper. When he unwraps it, silvery cloth slides through his fingers like liquid moonlight. The invisibility cloak. A note in narrow handwriting. Your father left this in my possession before he died. It is time it was returned to you. Use it well. No signature. That night he slips beneath it, and the world disappears except for his own breathing. He wanders corridors that feel entirely different when no one can see you. In a dusty classroom, he finds the mirror of Erised. The glass is tall and ornate, the inscription carved in curling letters. Erised stra eru oytube, kafru oyt on wusi. When he steps in front of it, he sees his parents, smiling, waving, alive. His mother's eyes are the exact green of his own. His father ruffles his hair exactly the way Harry has always imagined someone might. He stands there until his legs ache, tears cold on his cheeks. The next night he brings Ron, but Ron sees himself head boy holding the Quidditch cup. On the third night, Dumbledore is waiting, sitting quietly on a desk. The happiest man on earth would look into this mirror and see only himself exactly as he is, he says softly. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Harry nods, throat thick. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror that showed you everything you lost, longing, and had to choose to walk away? The second half of the year arrives wrapped in pale winter light that makes every corridor look like the inside of a seashell. Snow piles softly against the windows, muffling the world, and the castle seems to breathe more slowly, as though it too wants to linger in these quiet months. Harry, Ron, and Hermione have fallen into a rhythm that feels ancient. Breakfast together while owls drop toast crumbs on their heads. Lessons that smell of chalk dust and potions fumes. Evenings curled by the common room fire doing homework while the portraits doze, and the flames whisper secrets in crackling voices. One January afternoon they are sitting in the library, parchment rustling, quills scratching, when Hermione suddenly slams a huge book shut with a soft thud that makes Madame Pince glare over her spectacles. She has found something. Nicholas Flamel, the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone, elixir of life, turns base metals to gold, 665 years old. The name lands between them like a warm coal. Hagrid's grubby little package from Vault 713. The three-headed dog guarding something on the third-floor corridor. Everything clicks together with the gentlest possible sound, the way puzzle pieces do when you are not forcing them. That night, Harry wakes from a dream of green light and high, cold laughter. His scar burns as though someone has been freshly cut. He sits up gasping, moonlight silver across the dormitory floorboards. Ron mumbles in his sleep. Outside, snow is falling so thickly it looks like the sky is emptying feather pillows. Harry pulls the invisibility cloak around his shoulders and pads barefoot down the spiral stairs. The common room is empty except for the dying fire and one small snore from the fat lady portrait. He slips out, the cloak whispering against the stone, and makes his way to the library's restricted section. The air here smells of old leather and secrets that have been locked away for centuries. He lights his wand with the softest lumos, the light a tiny star cupped in his palm. Books growl and rattle on the shelves like sleeping dragons. One screams when he opens it, a high, piercing wail that makes him clap it shut and run, heart-hammering, cloak fluttering behind him like frightened wings. Filch almost catches him, breath wheezing, Mrs. Norris's lamp eyes glowing in the dark, but Harry melts into an alcove and holds his breath until the footsteps fade. Back in the common room, he finds Hermione and Ron waiting, faces pale with worry and excitement. From that night on, they move as one creature with 3 heads and 6 whispering voices. They discover that Snape tried to get past Fluffy the 3-headed dog on Halloween, the night he was limping, and his leg was torn. Hermione's eyes narrow. He's after the stone. Ron shudders. Imagine having all 3 of those heads drooling on you. Harry says nothing. He is remembering the way Snape's eyes always find his scar across the Great Hall. Spring arrives slowly, like someone turning up a dimmer switch on the world. The lake thaws with soft cracking sounds. Quidditch matches grow fiercer. In one game against Hufflepuff, Harry's broom is perfectly behaved, and he catches the snitch in under 5 minutes, a new school record. The stands roar so loudly the sound seems to lift the roof off the stadium. Wood hugs him so hard his ribs creak. Even McGonagall is seen dabbing her eyes behind her tartan handkerchief. One evening after detention with Snape, polishing trophies until his fingers smell of silver polish and old victories, Harry overhears Snape cornering Quirrell in a classroom. The corridor is dim, torches flickering. Snape's voice is low and dangerous. "You don't want me as your enemy, Quirrell." Quirrell stammers something about not knowing what he means. Harry's scar sears again. He runs to tell the others. Hermione's face goes very still. "It isn't Snape we should be afraid of," she whispers. "It's Quirrell. He's letting Snape bully him so no one suspects." Ron looks sick. Harry feels the idea of gentle, stuttering Professor Quirrell being the danger feels impossible, yet the scar never lies. They decide they have to act. Dumbledore has left for London on urgent ministry business, summoned by a letter that arrived by Scarlet Howler. The trio meets in the common room at midnight. The fire has burned down to soft orange coals that pulse like a sleeping heart. Hermione has brewed Polyjuice potion in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, but they decide they don't need it tonight. They slip beneath the invisibility cloak, 3 bodies pressed close, breathing the same warm air. The castle at night is full of soft sounds. Armor creaking as it dreams, portraits snoring gently, Peeves humming somewhere far away. They reach the 3rd-floor corridor. Fluffy is asleep, drooling on an enormous harp that plays itself with ghostly fingers. A trapdoor yawns beneath the dog's paws. One by one, they drop through. The fall is surprisingly gentle. They land on something soft and alive. Devil's snare. Its tendrils begin to tighten like cool green ropes. Hermione whispers, "Devil's snare likes the dark and damp." And then, calmer, "Relax. Let it hold you." Harry forces his body to go limp, and the plant recoils from the light of their wands, releasing them into the chamber below. The air here is full of fluttering golden keys with tiny wings that tinkle like wind chimes. An old broomstick waits. Harry mounts it without thinking. The moment he kicks off, the keys scatter in a glittering storm. He flies the way he was born to, wind rushing through his hair, dodging and spinning until he closes his hand around the one with the bent wing that remembers being caught before. The door unlocks with a soft click that sounds like relief. Next is a giant chessboard. Stone pieces tower over them, faces carved and stern. Ron takes charge, voice steady even though his hands shake. He directs them like a general. Harry, you take the bishop. Hermione, the castle. They move across the black and white squares, boots echoing. When the White Queen turns her cold stone gaze on Ron, he whispers, "It's the only way," and lets her take him. The piece smashes down with a sound like breaking mountains. Ron collapses, unconscious but breathing. Harry and Hermione drag him to the side, tears hot on their cheeks. Hermione's voice wobbles, but she says, "We have to go on." For Ron. Have you ever had to leave someone you love behind so the rest of the story can continue? The next room smells of old potion bottles and something sharp and medicinal. 7 bottles line a table, flames dancing along a purple curtain of fire behind them. A parchment riddle curls in Hermione's fingers. She works it out in seconds, eyes bright with fierce intelligence. There is only enough potion for one to go forward. She hugs Harry so tightly he can feel her heart racing against his. "You're a great wizard, Harry," she whispers. "You really are." He wants to tell her she is the brilliant one, but there is no time. She drinks, steps through the black flames back to Ron. Harry drinks the icy potion that feels like swallowing winter, and steps through the purple flames alone. The final chamber is colder than any dungeon Harry has ever known. A wide stone room lit only by faint blue torchlight that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The air smells faintly of iron and old blood and something sweet rotting, like lilies left too long in water. In the very center stands the mirror of Erised again, taller than before, its golden frame catching the blue light and throwing it back in soft ripples. Harry's footsteps echo too loudly, then not at all, as though the room itself is holding its breath. He steps closer. His reflection is there, but beside it stands someone else. Someone with red eyes and a face flatter than a snake's, wearing Professor Quirrell's turban. The real Quirrell turns slowly, almost lazily. His stutter has vanished completely. His voice is soft, smooth, cold as moonlight on snow. "Yes, Potter has come at last." Harry's scar explodes with pain so sudden he staggers. Quirrell raises one pale hand and unwinds the turban with deliberate care. The fabric sighs as it falls. On the back of his head is another face, chalk-white skin stretched tight over bone, slits for nostrils, eyes crimson and burning. Voldemort. The name tastes like poison even unspoken. The second face smiles, lips thin and bloodless. "See what I have become? See what I must do to survive." Harry backs away, heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. Voldemort's voice is silk over broken glass. "The stone! Boy, give me the stone!" Quirrell snaps his fingers and ropes spring out of thin air, binding Harry's wrists with a soft hiss. They feel like cold silk, unbreakable. Quirrell pushes Harry toward the mirror. "Look," the second face hisses, "and tell me what you see." Harry looks. For one heartbeat, he sees himself holding the stone, red and glowing. Then the pocket of his robes grows suddenly heavy. The stone is there. He feels its warmth through the fabric like a tiny heartbeat. He says nothing. Quirrell's hands search frantically, patting pockets, growing angry. What does the boy see? Voldemort screams, and the sound is inside Harry's skull. Harry's mind races. He remembers Dumbledore's gentle voice. The mirror gives neither truth nor knowledge, only desire. He closes his eyes for a fraction of a second and thinks of Ron and Hermione waiting beyond the flames, of Hagrid's huge arms around him on his birthday, of his mother's green eyes in the mirror at Christmas. When he opens them again, he says quietly, "I see myself shaking hands with Dumbledore. I've won the House Cup for Gryffindor. It is not quite a lie." Quirrell spins him around, fingers digging into Harry's shoulders. The touch burns like ice. Wherever Quirrell's skin meets Harry's, angry red blisters rise, and the professor screams in agony, snatching his hands away. Voldemort snarls, "Kill him! Use your own hands!" Quirrell lunges again, fingers closing around Harry's throat. The pain is unbearable, but Harry grabs Quirrell's face with both bound hands. Skin bubbles and flakes away like ash. Quirrell howls, trying to tear free, but Harry holds on. The room tilts. Gold and black spots burst across his vision. He thinks, dimly, of his mother's arms around him once more, of love stronger than any spell. Quirrell staggers back, flesh crumbling from his bones. Voldemort's face detaches from the back of the skull with a wet, tearing sound, rising like crimson smoke, shrieking, rushing straight at Harry. The last thing Harry feels is cold, so absolute it feels like burning, and then nothing. He wakes to blinding white light and the smell of clean linen and strong medicinal tea. He is in the hospital wing. Sunlight pours through high windows, dust motes dancing like tiny golden snitches. Dumbledore sits beside the bed, eyes twinkling over half-moon spectacles. "Good afternoon, Harry. Tokens from your admirers," he says softly, gesturing to mountains of sweets and cards that smell of chocolate, and get well wishes. Harry's throat is dry as parchment. "What happened?" he croaks. Dumbledore's voice is low, warm, endless. He explains everything. How Quirrell could not touch him because his mother's sacrifice still lives in his skin. How love leaves a mark no dark magic can ever erase. "To have been loved so deeply," Dumbledore says gently, "even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever." Ron and Hermione burst in minutes later, Ron still limping from the chessboard, Hermione pale but fierce. Madame Pomfrey fusses and threatens bedpans, but they stay until lights out, whispering and laughing and passing Bertie Bott's beans under the blankets. Hagrid arrives sobbing, 8 feet tall, and crying into a tablecloth-sized handkerchief, giving Harry the photograph album at last. Every face waves and smiles. Lily Potter's eyes are bright with tears and pride. Harry traces her face with one careful finger until the tears on his own cheeks feel warm instead of cold. The end-of-year feast is held beneath a sky of deep twilight blue. The Great Hall banners are slithering green, but Dumbledore rises, voice gentle thunder. However, he says, recent events must be taken into account. Last-minute points. 50 to Hermione for cool logic in the face of fire. 50 to Ron for the best-played game of chess Hogwarts has seen in many years. 60 to Harry for pure nerve and outstanding courage. And 10 to Neville Longbottom, who stood up to his friends when it mattered most. The banners change to scarlet and gold. Gryffindor wins the House Cup. The Great Hall erupts in cheers that shake the enchanted ceiling. Harry looks across the staff table and sees Snape's lip curl, but there is something almost like reluctant respect in the dark eyes. Have you ever felt the moment when everything inside you that was broken quietly clicks back into place? Not perfect, but whole enough to keep going. That is how Harry feels, as the feast ends, and the candles float higher, brighter, and Dumbledore sends them off with one final twinkle. To bed. Pip pip. The Hogwarts Express steams gently at Hogsmeade Station, scarlet against the summer green hills. Students spill onto the platform in a bright, laughing river. Harry hugs Hermione so tightly, her bushy hair tickles his nose. Ron punches him lightly on the arm. See you in 6 weeks, mate. And for once there is no embarrassment in the affection. Hagrid envelops Harry in a rib-cracking hug that smells of treacle and earth and safety. Don, forget to write, he rumbles, eyes suspiciously wet, Harry promises. He boards the train with his trunk, Hedwig hooting softly in her cage. The Philosopher's Stone safe back with Nicholas Flamel, who has decided quietly to let death come gently after all. The journey home is golden. Sunlight pours through the windows, turning chocolate frog wrappers into tiny stained glass prayers. Outside, the countryside rolls by in soft greens and golds, sheep like little clouds, rivers glinting like snitches. Harry eats cauldron cakes until his fingers are sticky, plays exploding Snap until the cards are singed, and talks with Ron and Hermione until their voices grow sleepy and slow. When London appears, the sky is the color of warm peach. Uncle Vernon waits on the platform, purple-faced and impatient, but Harry is no longer afraid. He has friends now. He has a home that is not under the stairs. He has a scar that aches sometimes, but mostly it reminds him he survived love. The Dursleys drive him back to Privet Drive in stony silence. The cupboard door stays closed, forever unlocked. Harry unpacks his trunk in Dudley's second bedroom, sunlight striping the carpet like tiger stripes. Hedwig flutters to the windowsill and blinks at the ordinary street, as if to say, "We have seen greater wonders, you and I." That night Harry lies in a real bed, windows open to warm summer air that smells of cut grass and distant roses. He thinks of everything that happened. The boats across the lake, the Sorting Hat's song, the troll, the broomstick, the mirror, Quirrell's crumbling face, Dumbledore's gentle hands. None of it feels frightening anymore. It feels like a story he was born to live. Somewhere far away, in a tower room we once shared, the fire has burned down to soft embers. The rain outside your window has slowed to the gentlest possible tapping, almost a heartbeat. The enormous leather-bound book closes with a soft sigh. I trace the golden title one last time, then rest my hand over yours. Though you cannot feel it, I hope you can. The castle sleeps. The lake laps quietly at its shores. Somewhere an owl calls once, twice, then settles. You did not have to stay awake the whole way, but if you did, thank you for trusting me with your night. If you drifted off somewhere between the chess pieces and the mirror, the story simply stepped gently into your dreams and finished itself there. Either way, you are safe. You are loved beyond measure. You belong exactly where you are. Breathe in slowly, hold, and breathe out everything that no longer serves you. Let the mattress hold you the way the Hogwarts Express held Harry on his way home. Steady, warm, certain of arrival. Let the rain outside become the sound of 1,000 tiny broomsticks flying you toward morning. Tomorrow there will be ordinary sunlight and ordinary tea and ordinary worries. But tonight you carry something extraordinary inside your chest. The knowledge that magic is real, and it looks a lot like courage and friendship, and choosing every day to be kind even when no one is watching. The last candle gutters. The room smells of vanilla and cedar and the faintest trace of treacle tart. I lean close, so close my whisper is barely more than your own thoughts, and I say the final words of the film, the ones Harry hears in his heart long after the credits roll. You're a wizard, Harry. But tonight, dear listener, those words are for you. Sleep now. The adventure will still be here when you wake, tucked safely behind your eyes like a letter that finally found its way to the right doorstep. Good night.